morning. It has been 1 week since I set up my camera trap in Lassen Pack, wolf country, and a lot has happened in a week. Started a YouTube channel. Who knew, right? That was never my plan. I actually wasn't going to record a video the last time I was out. It was not even on my radar, but I thought, you know, if this turns up anything cool, it might be fun to have this kind of documented. So I may never record another video in my life, but I thought it would be fun. So there you go. I've already upgraded to the GoPro. I don't know if you're noticing this buttery smooth video, but thought we'd actually plan to do a video today and bring the GoPro out. So here we are on my back roads driving to the area where I got to park, where I will hike from to go in to check the camera. And I wasn't going to check the camera. This is 1 week in, but look at the roads here. We've got a lot of issues. We've had some rain, we've had some snow, and I'm a little bit afraid the road conditions are gonna start to deteriorate and make it harder for me to get up here. So once it starts snowing a little bit lower in the hills, we're gonna have, you know, this is gonna become a major ordeal to get my camera out of there. So my goal is to leave it for 3 weeks. This is week 1. I can get about 3 weeks out of my batteries, and I didn't want to go back just to get, you know, disturb the area and get my scent on everything again and all that. My goal was to not go back, but the combination of questioning my setup and worrying about trigger placement and all that, combined with the weather, I got to go check it. So we're a weekend, and we'll see what happens. It's an 07 Jeep Commander too, by the way, in case you're trying to figure out what I'm driving. I love this thing. It's amazing. It gets horrible gas mileage. It's got the Hemi in it. I'm making double digits, but like barely. So I don't really feel bad about it either. Sorry. This thing's great. It gets me where I need to go. Anyway, you know, as soon as you walk away from a camera trap, you start questioning like the way you set everything. There is an absolutely unbelievable amount of variables involved with camera trapping, and only so many of them are in your control. You know, you got all the camera settings, you got focus and shutter speed, aperture, all the flash settings, right, ISO levels. All those things are stuff that you can set. But at the end of the day, it comes down to whether that animal decides to be exactly where you were hoping it was going to be at, you know, a time that works out with your lighting and everything else. So you try to control everything you can, and then you just hope. Now, I'm not actually expecting to go back and find a wolf on the camera today. That would be fantastic, but it's only been a week. They've got a 500 square mile range, right? And the chances of getting one are pretty slim. I'm hoping to. But what I'm actually hoping to see is anything, something that triggered that camera that can tell me if my trigger settings are good, or where I wanted them to be. Because you kind of have to predict when the animal is going to trip your trigger, and then where the animal is going to be when the shutter fires. There's a little bit of a delay there, you know. So there's a delay from the trigger being tripped to the shutter fire, and that delay actually changes as the batteries die. So the temptation is always to point the trigger straight ahead where the camera is pointing, and then you know that the trigger is going to see whatever the camera sees. If an animal walks in front, the camera is going to fire. The problem with that is you don't know how close to that trigger the animal is going to be when it trips it. So you can't set your focus point on the camera in a place where you can predict how far away from the camera the animal is going to be. It could be 30 feet away and the trigger will pick it up, or it could be, you know, 5 feet away and the trigger will pick it up. And that camera is going to fire either way, so you don't know, depth of field and focus might be way off. So what I've started to do is first I have to find an area where you pretty much know the animal is going to be moving along, like a game trail or a narrow spot, a natural kind of bottleneck of some kind. And then I've started setting up the trigger like perpendicular to that trail, so the animal will trip the trigger like a beam kind of as it's walking along. This recent picture that I got of a bobcat that kind of got some attention because it's pretty sweet. That's what I did. I had the log kind of set up there, and I knew that the bobcat hopefully would be walking along that log. So you plan for the picture you want, right? I'm like, okay, I want a bobcat, I want it walking toward the camera, and I want it in this spot when the camera fires. So you take all of that and then you set your trigger up perpendicular to the log so that the animal will trip it like a beam as it's walking toward the camera. So then I literally stood there, I pointed my trigger and I said, okay, that bobcat's probably gonna be walking. So then I think, okay, that bobcat's gonna take 2 more steps in that 1 second delay there while between the trigger and the shutter. And in that case, it worked out perfect. But I literally stood there and then I put my hat on the log, 2 bobcat steps closer to the camera, I figured, and set my focus point on that hat. And when that bobcat tripped the trigger, it kept walking forward, and it worked out perfect. Now in this case, I'm uneducated on wolves, so I'm thinking a wolf is probably going to be at a trot. Wolves don't seem to walk anywhere, right? Pretty much. So I set my trigger pretty far down the trail for a wolf at a trot coming up the trail, hoping that wolf would trigger the sensor early enough to still be in that plane of focus when the camera goes off. But I've never dealt with this kind of distance. So as soon as I left, I started questioning whether I set it up right. As soon as I walked away. So I've been agonizing over that all week, and that's another reason I want to go back. I'm hoping that a deer or something at least trip that thing and can tell me whether my focus point is even close to right. So we're gonna check, because I don't want to go back in 3 weeks and then find out that I set something wrong and had a blurry picture when could have been good. So we're kind of coming up on the area where I have my first trail camera, not the camera trap, but you can see how wet everything is from this rain. It's like across this little meadow, but I don't want to get that wet, so we're gonna kind of walk around. So this area is probably, I don't know, a mile and a half from where the camera trap is set up. And I don't want to give away exactly where I'm at, but basically I'm targeting like kind of the ends of flat areas in the ground, kind of open meadow sort of areas where there's a little bit of a natural like bottleneck, where anything moving through would kind of gravitate to sort of a central location, especially along water, like stream bed kind of situations. So that's why I wound up here. Anyway, I thought it looked like a pretty prime area. I actually brought the camera trap to this spot to set it up. And then I saw like no wolf sign over here, no tracks, nothing. And I didn't set it up, hung on to it, and went over to the other area about a mile away where I wound up setting it up, and that's where that's where I stumbled into all those tracks, and thought it was probably a better situation. So, but I'm super curious what this camera picked up over here, because, you know, could be anything. All right, I see it. We're still there. So this is my little guy right here on this tree, and I use a stick like that sometimes just to get the camera angle right, kind of point it down. But got a creek right here, and I'm gonna stop panning over about there just because I don't want to be accused of giving away where I'm at. So this is a Cam Park T45 trail cam. I don't even know if you can get these anymore. They've updated them a little bit. So there's 2 videos on here. One is me opening that thing or setting it up, and the other's a nighttime one. And I see some eyeballs back there in the distance. That's a very cool shot of Bob the cat. I actually saw what I thought was a bobcat track when I was setting that camera up, and it was really faint along that creek, and I thought it was cool that there was a possibility one was still hanging out in this burn, you know, because it's a sign of other life being here, right? If there's a bobcat, then you got some other game at least hanging out. So that's a sweet sign of life returning to the Dixie Fire. That's fun. This is kind of the area where I was finding tracks last time, and it's all been pretty washed out. I'm just glancing, see if I see any fresh stuff. Not seeing anything crazy big and new. So my second trail camera is just up here a little bit. My baling wire's gotten rusty. I'm gonna have to take some of that off to open this camera, actually. All right, there you go, magic. Now, go off. "13 videos on this bad boy. That's a good sign. Unless they're all people walking away with my camera trap. That's me setting up. Somebody cruising by. Oh man. We might be onto something here. I can't even describe how crazy it is that there are probably 20 of these critters in the state of California. And not only have I found their tracks, but I think I just got some footage, and that's cool. That's cool. My camera trap is just up the way, and oh man. Okay, heading up toward the camera trap. There's some good size prints. I don't know if I emphasized enough in my last video how crazy it is that I'm in California right now and I'm seeing wolf tracks. I just think it's so amazing that we have these guys here. I mean, they get a lot of hate. A lot of people are afraid they're gonna kill everything and ruin everything, and you know, none of that's really backed up by reality, but people are scared of them, you know, I think, and what they might do, whatever. But I just think it's awesome. I think it's awesome that not only are they making a little bit of a comeback, but the fact that we have them here, right here in little old California, you know, that's a heck of a thing. It really is. All right, here's our game trail. Look how packed that trail is. Camera trap is right up here. We're just gonna keep walking, see if it takes our picture. Everything appears to be good. That's a huge sign. Ooh. Before I even get there, look at that. The ground being disturbed like that, right in front of my camera. That's a good sign, people. There 'tis. So these are external battery packs. That's the receiver coming from the trigger. It's wired into the camera. That is a trigger to actuate the flashes. I don't know if I'm going to show you everything that's on here. So those tracks where it's kind of disturbed down here, we got them. I got a couple wolf shots that I'm pretty excited about, and I can't believe it. It's pretty sweet. I'm not thrilled with my flash setup. Now I put the flashes up pretty high in the hopes that they would be sort of out of line of sight, which appeared to work. And I was kind of shooting wide on purpose to, you know, assuming they're on the trail, but maybe they're not. I wanted to get the whole area. I'm gonna redirect the flashes all a little bit closer here. There's a camera. They were, you know, here. The wolves were here in my picture, and I wish my flashes were just a little bit insufficient. So I'm going to see what I can get out of those images, but I think I got one killer shot in focus, and everything you want. And I'm standing here in disbelief. I got a bear on there. He was kind of over here more. My trigger is right there, pointing right this way. But you can see how that flash is angled a little bit too far forward, and so is that one. So the lighting on the critter was a little bit less than I would want, but I think you're still gonna have that like wolf coming out of the darkness sort of image. I couldn't be happier, really. I mean, I'm gonna make adjustments, but this is nuts. Week 1. Holy cow. To my knowledge, that's the first close-up image on a good camera of this wolf pack. I mean, there's a lot of trail camera footage out there. I know Fish and Wildlife has been, you know, monitoring, and they've got trail cameras all over the place. But on a you know, to shoot one at like 24 millimeters on a DSLR, that's the first one. That's a special image. That's really, really cool. So the adventure continues. I'm gonna leave stuff out here for a couple more weeks, unless the snow really starts flying. But man, what a cool thing to find on the memory card.